Hello,
Hi.
and welcome to the Tuesday night music show. It's just Jay and I tonight.
Two for Tuesday this week, not
Two for
three.
Tuesday. I
Yeah,
thought maybe Sparky would show up. I thought maybe Art would show up in the studio, and he might yet. Art
you
might
might.
pop in, but for now, it's just you and I, Jay.
Just you and I. Yep. We're just gonna have to chit chat music.
Yeah, I don't have my Robin like Howard Stern.
No.
Howie's kind of like my Robin,
Yeah. He's sort of Freddish, but a little more Robin.
a little more Robin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how I would describe him.
yeah. It'd be nice if he was more Fred.
That
We,
would
we
be
could use
dope.
a little more Fred sometimes. He does a pretty good job though.
Yes, yes.
But it's okay. The engineering part of this job is hitting the record button, and I can handle that.
Well,
So
there's a lot of music
handled.
news today with Cardi B quitting music and Justin Bieber quitting music and the Kardashians signing a multi-album plan with Universal Records, and
I've heard none of this.
of
Enlighten
course
me.
not, because I just brought it to the table. I
Okay.
just thought maybe we'd get extra ratings if I made stuff up. So you don't think so?
Are you making stuff up?
Yeah, yeah, I made all that up. Yeah, that's
Okay,
all.
because I did hear Gilbert Gottfried died today.
I know, I saw that.
Yeah.
2022 has not been a good year to us, has it?
Mm,
20, I mean, the last 3 years, we've lost a lot of people.
right.
Comedians wise, I mean, we just lost Norm. Now Gilbert. We just lost somebody else too.
Bob Saget.
Bob Saget. But I
Yeah.
think there was a fourth. It'll come to me. There was somebody in the not too distant past that we also lost that I
Right.
thought was another comedian.
Well, Louis Anderson. JC is saying it's Louis Anderson.
Louis Anderson, that's it.
See, JC is kind of being our Baba Booey tonight.
Which is good.
He's Googling for us, which is really helpful. We need that.
Yeah. No. We need to keep up on these things.
So what do you want to talk about tonight?
Well,
Should we talk about what we talked about yesterday?
we could do that. We could talk
A little bit?
about that. Yeah, a
I
little
think
bit.
people like it. I mean, I like to talk about music and I like to talk about performance and kind of the artistry of what we do. But most people want to hear about gear and money.
Right.
So let's just give the people what they want tonight. Let's go straight to the money part.
All right, let's go to the money. What do you got for me in the money world?
Well, I made a video yesterday, which I told you about that.
You did.
And yes, I have a YouTube channel and you'll have to Google me.
I got to look it up.
Look it up.
It's SBR, correct? That's
Something
what I typed
like
in,
that.
SBR.
Yes. I don't know. Something. But anyway, I decided I was raising my prices effective immediately. And I had reasons for it. I wasn't just arbitrarily doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because some people will. They'll just say, well, I'm just going to raise my prices because I think I can get it. I'm not that dude. I like
You have a
to.
business plan. You
Right.
in your head know what you're doing. I think
Yeah.
about 90% of the DJs I know in this industry, if you said to them, explain your price, they really couldn't.
Right. Well, because I'm worth it.
Well,
is-
because they
is the
started
reply.
at a point, they looked around the street and said, what's everyone charging? $12.50. Guess that's the price I'm going to start charging. And
Yeah.
then as time goes, they start to add into it. But Drax famously has said, write a business plan and explain, because you can sell a genuine price for something. If you know it's worth $3,000,
Right.
you can sell it. But if you're shooting from the hip with, you know what, I'm going to charge, if the expression I'm going to charge comes out of your mouth as your guiding rule, then you haven't thought it out.
Right.
You don't know why you're charging that. Maybe you should be charging 4.
It's just an arbitrary number that's being picked out of thin air.
Yeah, you
And it's
can't do
important.
that.
It's important to know what market value is. I mean, it's important to know, what people are paying for things. But I think it's also important to figure out what it's actually costing you to do business.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
What do you have to make? Because we all have that number. If I called you up tonight and said, hey, Brian, I've got a gig next Wednesday. It's 3 hours. It's in your town. It's 2 miles away from your house. It's very easy. Just bring a controller. It's a mellow thing. Can you do it for me for 150? I'm pretty positive you'd say no. Because you'd in your head go, it's going to take really 5 hours because even though it's only 20 minutes away, I have to get ready.
Right.
I have to load the truck. Even though it's just a controller, that I still have to use my stand. There's things that go into it, but we all have numbers.
Yeah.
I'm doing a gig next Friday, 4 hours at a bar, and it's not a profitable gig. And it's not profitable because I'm doing it for 4 hours for less than 100 an hour. Now, that's not to set a standard, but the value is I haven't played in a bar in like 3 years.
Sure. It's a workout.
It's a workout. It's just get out of my element, play something different. It's close by. If it was in San Diego, the answer would have been no.
Yeah.
But it's literally 4 miles from my house.
You're not losing money on it.
No, exactly. It's not something that I'm really going to walk away and say, "Wow, that was so."
But you're not giving it away, but you're it's not going to change your life.
But I have thresholds. Cool. You know, like you go to the mechanics, they have a threshold and it's on the wall. We don't have that.
Workouts are important. I mean,
I think so.
I think they're great. I need to do it sometime. I haven't done it in a long time, just because, well, it's an energy level thing for me. If I feel like I've got the energy for it and the right opportunity comes, sure, I'll do a workout. But, you know, most of the time it's really, hey, you know, I need to go out and do a job where I'm actually earning. And if I'm not, I've got other things I could be doing here, like talking about stuff that, I don't know, like money and gear on YouTube. I could be doing that.
Yeah. Would you do a gig for free because you wanted to do the gig?
Boy, that's tough. That depends. You know, I suppose, how badly do I really want to do it?
I want to do a gig, and I'm going to probably go to this big club in San Diego and try to sell myself and walk, because I've looked at their flyers and they've had the same 3 DJs in rotation. Like this week it's DJs ABC, next week it's DJs BAC, next week it's DJs CAB. Like it's the same people, they just switch the names.
Sure.
But it's a gothy dark wave club. And I'm going to just go down and take a look and say, hey, I'd love to come in and spin for an hour or two.
Yeah.
Like in front of the other DJs.
Sure.
And again, as more of a workout, maybe give me a bar tab and $100.
Well, I mean, you think about Atlantic City. I mean, I did a set for 11 minutes before you came in and interrupted my set.
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't get paid for that 11 minutes.
Well, you know, I that set was fun. I mean, I think I got $8,000, which is below my normal.
Well, yeah, I got nothing for my whole 11 minutes. So
I will send you a couple bucks. So bad now. I didn't know. You know, I thought I
suppose there are times like in Atlantic City when we were all hanging out at that place where I would go ahead and spend, but that was just kind of a recreational thing. There was no pressure. It was just a fun thing to do. But back to what I was.
Yeah. But go ahead back to your.
Yeah, back to what I was talking about, raising my prices, and the reason I decided to raise my prices, a couple reasons. Number one, which Steve Slick mentioned here in the chat, inflation. Everything's going up.
Yeah.
Cost of living, gas, everything's going up. So that's just a small part of it, though. You know, that was just another reason to do it. In fact, I mentioned on social media just that I was raising my prices. I didn't say why. And somebody chimed in and said, well, if it's because of inflation, are you going to lower your prices when this bounces back or gas is less expensive? And the answer that I have to that question is, if this does indeed happen, it might give me a little bit of negotiation room, but I don't think that I'm going to go ahead and just advertise that I'm lower, if that makes any sense to you.
It does, but at what point would the prices have to go down that you would look at things and say, I'm now overcharging for my skill and talent because gas is $1 a gallon and milk is 50 cents a gallon? Like,
sure.
I think inherently your price is not only based, your raise might be based on other factors, but it's still based on your skill, talent, and level that you bring. If that doesn't go down, I don't think the price should. And I can tell you from experience, don't ever lower your price, because you will chase it for 10 years to get back to it.
Well, when I price things out, it's a multi-level thing. It's not just one thing that determines my price. It's not just the cost of gas or cost of living. One thing that kind of came to my attention was, you know, I'm not making amateur mistakes. And that might sound funny to some of you, but, you know, what are the amateur mistakes? Playing sets too long where they get boring and people get bored. I don't know. Poor sound, light shining in people's eyes, not saying the right things on the microphone, not playing to the audience, just amateur stuff. The reason that I was thinking about this is because my friend Art brought it to my attention that there are people in my market that charge what I do or more who make amateur mistakes. And that got me thinking, well, wait a minute. If they're charging just as much or more than I am, how come I'm charging what I'm charging?
Well,
I'm better than that.
You are, but see, this is the variable in the DJ industry that will never be fixed because we're not licensed or certified or anything else. And I firmly believe I've talked to DJs that have been in the game for 4 or 5 years, and they call me with questions about their gear, about how to use it, how I would handle this wedding, how I would handle that event. And then I go on Facebook and see they're charging twice what I charge.
Yeah.
And it's a little disheartening to think, if you
Well, wait a
don't
minute,
know,
what did I do? Yeah.
like, yeah, how, but you know, there's things that are out of your control. The markets. I know some amazing DJs who don't charge very much.
Yeah. Well, me too.
Then I know some genuinely not amazing DJs who genuinely are not good on much of anything on any level, but they're friends with someone or they roadied for someone. They break off, they start their own company. Excuse me, they have a full-time day job. They dump 30 grand into their gear and van and everything else. And then they look around and go, well, I'm as good as DJ ABC. He charges 2,500. That's where I'm going to start.
Right.
And as you and I said, I think before we went on air, without a business plan, it's difficult to justify what you're charging. Because if you genuinely knew what you had to charge, you could sell it much easier than making up a number out of thin freaking air.
Right. Well, back to that business plan thing, I've kind of strayed away from that. I'll just run this down really quick. So part of it is, yeah, out-of-pocket expenses. You know, that's fuel, that's, you know, whatever, tolls, whatever you got to pay. That might be music downloads that you have to make per gig, like, you know, an average
insurance.
No, that's different. I'm talking about out-of-pocket per gig.
Oh, per gig. Okay.
Yeah, per gig. So, you know, if I have to pay for parking, that's unique to that event, if that makes sense to you.
Yes.
So I figure out what like the average out-of-pocket expenses are per gig, and I add that to my price. Then I think about annual expenses. That's the insurance.
Right.
That's the you know, a lot of things. That's even the music service. That's tons of stuff that you have to shell out all the time. You know,
right.
That's your phone, that's your internet, that's all that stuff. Figure out what that's costing you per year for your business. Divide that by how many gigs you feel like you do every year and charge that. Add that to your price. The other part is gear rental. So I do that on a 20 gig plan. So let's say that I buy a set of speakers for $2,000, right? Let's figure that those speakers are going to last me at least 20 events without having to replace them. And that's ridiculous. If we buy good speakers, they should last us longer than that. But that's my rental plan. So I take those 20 gigs and I divide it by how much money I actually spend on these speakers. And that's a little bit of money that I got to put into every event. So I've come down to, I charge 10% of my total gear cost. I build that into my pricing. So let's say that I have $5,000 worth of equipment. 10% of that would be $500.
Right.
I add that to the price. So I've got out-of-pocket expenses, annual expenses, gear rental, and then I have to pay myself. So I've argued on my videos, and it's just my philosophy on this, that I understand a lot of people don't want to charge a lot or live in an area that doesn't, you know, command a lot of dough for events. But I've argued that you should at least make sure that you're not paying to work. At least make sure, even if you don't want to pay yourself, fine, at least pay your expenses. I mean, at minimum, pay your expenses. Right. Now, if you don't value yourself to charge X amount of dollars for the performance you do, that's fine. But at least make sure that you're doing this. And then anything over and above that, that's money you're paying yourself.
Right.
So that's my business plan. So back to what I was talking about, why I'm raising my prices. One is that there are people out there less talented than myself who are commanding what I get or more. Two, cost of living. Three, and this was the main one that really got me thinking about raising my prices. And it was a wedding ceremony that I was at. Now, and this is very fair to say, more than 50% of the wedding ceremonies that I do have first-time officiants at these events. It's a trend here. I don't know. Are you seeing that where you live?
99% of the people that I do weddings for, it's a buddy, it's a friend, and I tell them I'm going to spend about 15 minutes with them before the ceremony just to go through the pitfalls.
Mm-hmm.
And I even have them make notes on their paper or iPad. Put this in red.
Right.
Please take your seats.
No, that is.
Please sit down.
Right.
Things.
Yeah.
Because they'll
don't
stand.
Forget to tell people to be seated, because otherwise they're going to stand there.
Oh, I don't have that in my notes. I'm like,
oh,
when
good
they come
idea.
out and they're all standing, you're going to launch right into the ceremony.
Yeah.
And you'll never say it.
Now, see, we know this stuff and they don't. Now, you're not doing this at a rehearsal. You're doing this right before the event.
Yeah.
And you're used to doing it that way.
Right.
How many DJs do you know would take the time to do that, who have the experience and knowledge to do what you do before an event like that with no rehearsal, diving in first time?
I don't think it's that they wouldn't know to do it. I think a lot of DJs wouldn't bother to care. And my logic has always been, I don't want to win over the bride and groom. I'd like to win over everyone, because everyone talks to the bride and groom. And if the ceremony goes well, and it usually happens about 98% of the time, the bride will come over at some point and say, thank you so much for talking to Brian before the ceremony. He said you gave him some really good tips, and we thought it went so beautifully well. And they'll come over and give me the big handshake and the hug and thank me, because I'm trying to make them look good. But I'm also trying, and I tell everyone, I only have one goal. The goal is that the couple's happy. My goal is their goal. I want them to have a great time. And if I know what could go wrong, I gain no satisfaction in watching an first-time dude screw things up, and then afterwards go, should have hired a regular pastor. No, you help everyone at the event get through the event and win. We're all there as a team. Vendors are there to help each other come out at the end of this event looking good. It's like when the toast comes up. I don't eat at my events. I haven't eaten at an event in probably 18 years. I'm walking around. I'm doing something with the music. I'm changing lights, whatever. But before I do the toast, it's in my head. You know what I do? I go find the photographer and the videographer.
Yeah.
I say, guys, I'm doing the toast now.
Just so you know, come back in from your break.
If they say, we'll be done eating in 10 minutes, I'll usually say, that's not going to work for them. So if you guys want to capture this, I really suggest you come in about 5 minutes, because that's when I'm going to introduce the toasters.
Yeah, I've had to pull people out of cars on their phone and all kinds of stuff.
I don't want to hear the next day when the bride gets the text or phone call or email to me going, wow, everything went great last night, Jay, but I talked to the photographer today and they said that you like purposely didn't get them to come take the photos, because other vendors will throw vendors under the bus. Yeah.
Anybody watching this, I mean, I'm not suggesting that no one can do this. What I am suggesting is, if you're making amateur mistakes like blinding people with lights, you don't know how to run a damn sound system, you don't know how to say the right thing on the microphone, you're basically not a competent DJ yet, in my opinion. You know what? I'm better than that. And if you're commanding this price, I need to at least command this price or more. I mean, I need to be above that.
Can you explain your price to yourself and justify it? I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like, if you're a new DJ and you're charging $2,000 or $3,000 to do a wedding, and you've only done 30 or 40 weddings in your lifetime, you've only been a DJ professionally for 2 years, 3 years, just explain to me in how, just justify why. And if the first thing out of your mouth is because the market, or because this guy,
or because I'm really worth it, or
you might be worth twice what you're charging. But if you value it against the market, you're not valuing you, you're valuing the market. I had a coordinator 2 weeks ago. She goes, I'm really excited today. I'm like, yeah, this will be a fun wedding. She goes, I heard a lot about you and this and that. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. She goes, do you do this full time? I said, yeah. I said, I think I have like 50 weddings this year so far booked. Oh my gosh, I only do 2 a month. That's my limit. I'm like, oh, good for you. You know, I've got kids, this and that. And I can feel what's coming next. I knew this was coming. And she goes, yeah, this is my 3rd wedding. And you know where it showed? We agreed that when the officiant said on the mic, folks, this is an unplugged ceremony. Please don't take any photos. Don't get in the aisle. No iPads, no phones. You'll be able to see all the photos. He would look at me and I would hit play on the processional for the groom, the wedding party, everyone but the bride. I hit play and I can see across the way, and there's the coordinator vaping with the groom, hanging out, laughing. And I have to physically go around everybody to her and say, "What? Why aren't they walking? Oh, are they supposed to?" I'm like, "You told me that when the processional starts right after the, yes.
Yeah.
And it was like that for the rest of the night. There was about 9 rookie mistakes that got made.
So long story short here, I had this epiphany. I decided this is what I needed to do. I needed to up these prices. By the time the video was uploaded, I was on a call to a client and I raised my prices. And I'm not going to tell you what I was charging before. And I'm not going to tell you what I charge these clients because we've talked about this. I'm not sure how honest a lot of DJs are about what they charge. They like to talk about what they charge, but there's no proof.
It's fake it till you make it.
And that's great that you can do that for your own id or whatever you want to call it.
If you hear it come out of your mouth enough, you start to try to believe that, and then you ask for that.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand your place with this. My concern is DJ Mikey Mike hears this and says, well, what's wrong with me? I can't charge that. And he tries to in his market, which is very different than your market, and he can't get it. And he feels, I don't know, I don't want to do that to anybody.
No. And I understand that, but I would also dare say, and I've used this example before, every market that there's a DJ, somebody owns a Cadillac Escalade. Somebody owns a multi-million-dollar house. Somebody understands the value of things that are expensive. DJs can oftentimes be no different.
Right.
There's probably a lawyer in that town that's making $1,000 an hour versus the average lawyer is making $150. Well, so the point is, if you're willing to just focus on going to, don't ever let your market drag you. Be the either go with the market or be the market.
Okay. Now we're getting into something different.
You're right.
All I'm saying is, I don't want to talk about what I charged before and what I'm charging now, simply because there's so many factors involved.
Sure.
And I don't want anybody to feel inferior. I also don't want anybody to chime in and say, well, I charge 8 times that much at this, and I do this and this.
Right.
Because we have no proof that they do it, because quite frankly, they're probably full of shit.
Well, and a lot of websites.
They're faking it until they make it at your expense and not on my time.
Right.
You guys do that on your own videos, but not on mine.
And I deal with this at shows and on forums and on every day I talk to somebody. At some point in my life, it comes up. And I am the first to say the Southern California market where I am is very competitive. Hence, it's very tight. And I know what the big guys are making. And no one's making the money that people lead you to believe they're making on the top. But I also know people in other states who are making numbers that just blow my mind. I'm like, how are you getting that? And they all say the same thing. That's the going rate out here, Jay. That's what we make in the Midwest and the Northeast and the Southwest. And they look at me and go, you're near LA and San Diego. You must be. I had a DJ say to me, what do you charge, like $5,000-$6,000 in your market? I'm like, no one charges $5,000 or $6,000 in my market. No one gets it. No one charges it. I said, unless you're doing a 3-day event, I don't think anyone's getting those numbers. They may say it, but they're not getting it. So to your point, I think this, like, the variables just become,
it's
people
crazy.
Just focus on their company. Don't compare yourself to A, B, and C. Just be you.
Right.
Because you're by the way, you're the only one you are. So if a client, if you don't explain the value of you, if you don't get a client to understand they're buying you, and that's the big thing. I mean, every meeting, every email, everything is, the first thing of fee and standards is you are hiring me as your DJ, not someone else.
Right. No.
And that becomes a separator. And then this is what I'm willing to do. And this is what I have done. And this is what you're getting. The bride's mother came up to me the other night and said, are you Jay? I'm like, yeah. She goes, my daughter says you're one of the best DJs out there. You opened up for Pitbull? And I'm like, I played at the same night that Pitbull played. So technically, Yes, I did. I was the first DJ of 3. Pitbull was the headliner.
Yeah.
And she goes, where was it? I said, it was at the Playboy Mansion. Hugh Hefner was still alive. That's all I needed to say.
Right.
So the mother at the end of the night came up to me. She goes, man, this was the best event I've ever been to. I've never danced so much. I'm like, great. Now, maybe it was in her head that she'd have a great time, and she did. That doesn't matter to me. All I know is the perception was reality.
Perceived value was important.
I could have been on the mic going like, hey, I want to welcome Cheryl and, oh, sorry, guys, Zoe. And like, you know, but I think every wedding and every event, you should strive to be better than the last one. Because I'm sure this happens to you, Brian. I know for a fact it does. I have 4 events this year where I did their friend's wedding or their sister's wedding or their brother's wedding a year, 2, 3, 4 years ago. You really think I want them to walk in and see the same performance, the same music, the same everything? No, I want it to seem better, but not so much better that they go, oh man, he kind of sucked at our wedding compared to who he is today. But I think there should be a sense of growth.
Well, let me just get this out. This is kind of like when you're watching the news and they say, we're going to give you the weather in 10 minutes. Because I've been trying to tell these people something and we keep going somewhere else.
Where am I?
Okay. It's okay. Let me just get this out. So that's why I'm not telling you how much I charged. But I had that sales call and I charge 40% more than I normally do.
Yep.
And I feel like I left money on the table.
Because they said yes so fast.
They jumped on it so fast.
Yeah.
And I was going with the business plan. I was thinking about, you know, okay, this I need to go up 10%. This I should probably go up 30% with. And I ended up with about a 40% average increase. And it was on the business plan. And it wasn't a number out of thin air. It was a real number. I had reasons that I was charging that number. And I was comfortable with it. And I was definitely taking care of myself.
Right.
But I wasn't robbing anybody at that number. And they jumped on it.
Right.
So it worked out.
Well, that was that. By the way, that used to be a thing back in the early 2000s. It was a thing to just ask for more money. It was a thing. You know, the old thing was if you're, you know, what's your booking rate? Oh, I book like 8 out of 10 weddings. Then you're not charging enough. That was a well thought and well adhered to lesson of economics in the wedding and DJ industry.
Yeah.
If you're booking everything that comes your way, you're not charging enough. And I kind of never understood that. I'm like, I don't know what you mean. Like, how do I know what to charge then? Like, what's the magic number?
Yeah.
Well, you keep raising it.
Sure.
Well, at what point do you know, and this sounds terrible to say, but I think there's a cap. Some DJs don't believe there's a cap. I do. I think there isn't, and I won't give that number, but there is a number in my head that I would have a very tough time explaining away. And I think that's the biggest part of sales. And you did sales more than I have, Brian. If you don't genuinely believe what you're saying, it's near impossible to sell somebody on it.
Yeah.
Like if you sell yourself as the end all be all and you're honest and truthful and you back it all up and then you give a number that you believe in your heart, I think they'll buy it every time. But
if you actually deliver. And that's
no. That's my point. It's got to be beforehand. You've got to get them to understand everything out of your mouth is factual, and you are going to deliver this. Otherwise, the market. Then you know what you do. You have a whole new business model. I'll tell you what. This is my price. It's $4,000, but you don't pay me till the end of the night. If you think I did more, pay me more. If you think I did less, pay me less.
Well, right. I have several thoughts on this. What we used to do when I used to work at the multi-op, the way they did it was they figured out what it would cost us to go out and do the event, what it cost to pay us, and whatever was left, that was the profit that the company made. What they felt like the market was, that's what they could make and whatever. And the other thing that we had way back then, and I've done it, I try not to do it anymore because it's just has blown up in my face a couple times. But we've told people, look, you pay us at the end of the night, okay? So if you didn't like it, you don't got to pay. If it's that bad, you don't pay. You pay us at the end of the night. So that's kind of your guarantee right there. Well, that's something you don't do anymore because that gets ugly.
Gets super ugly.
But that's what they used to do back then.
Right.
What I think people need to be really careful about with sales. And this is something that may not have maybe the highest grossing salesperson, but I slept at night very well. Don't overpromise and underdeliver.
No, the exact opposite.
Don't tell them this is going to be like Mardi Gras and you barely deliver the church carnival on a rainy weekend. You got to be able to go in there and be honest about what you do without, bringing yourself down. But, it was going to be the most amazing thing you ever saw. No, I don't say things like that. I can't
I've never promised a dance floor. I've never once said I'll pack the dance floor. Not once.
Yeah,
I've even told clients repeatedly, the beauty of weddings to me as a DJ, dancing is icing on the cake. If you're a group that didn't come to dance, and it's 50% guys who, unless they're wasted, aren't going to dance, if they get excited by the music choices, and here's the truth, couple that I'm talking to, I've probably been hired 8 or 9 times by people that said, we were at a wedding you DJ'd a few weeks ago. We want to hire you. Oh, great. What's going on? This and that. Did you guys come up and I'm sorry if I met you that night and I don't remember. No. The very end of the night, I'm the guy that came by and got the card and said, good job. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. He goes, by the way, we didn't dance. I'm not a dancer.
Right.
My fiance is not a dancer. But you know what? We didn't leave early either because the mixes were cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't too loud. All these things that you try to impress upon people. Like in the meeting, it won't be so loud your mother can't talk to your grandmother. Because I guarantee one of them said something before they hire a DJ. I hope it's not too loud. And that's part of the delivering process. And that's not putting you down. That's letting them know that you're a professional who has experience and understands the logistics of a great time. And a great time is not too loud.
Don't segue on me. I got a thought. Don't segue. Stop.
Still talking.
Cool. Okay. So you had mentioned, somebody, the grandmother saying, I hope it's not too loud. When I was younger, I thought that was kind of a snarly statement towards new music or just, having fun. And I didn't understand what it meant. I understand what it means now. It literally means too loud to speak. So Jay and I both have the same philosophies on this. And that is the music should be good and hot on the dance floor where everybody can hear it clearly. It sounds good.
Yep.
And everybody can dance and have fun. But anywhere off the dance floor,
10 feet away, they should talk.
People should be able to have conversations without screaming at each other. This might sound ridiculous to some of you. Some of you, I don't do that. I use these big giant sound systems. Hey, do you all day. But with this particular philosophy, we're able to not tire people out. People get tired when they got to scream at each other. It's exhausting. Not to mention tinnitus and things like that. But it's exhausting to scream at each other. And when you're tired, what do? You leave. If you can't hear somebody and you have to have a conversation, what do? You leave the room. I want them in the room having the conversations. I don't want them getting tired yelling at each other. So I think that's what the too loud thing means. Not only that, but it could also be just like really harsh mid-range, having a poorly designed sound system that's chasing people away. And I'm not saying that I've always built the right sound system. I'm saying that I've been that guy where I've been playing dinner music and grandma's got both of her fingers in her ears and she's looking at me like I'm the devil. And I was doing everything that I could to make it less harsh, turning it down, cutting the mid. It was just the wrong system. But I feel like I've got a good system now. I feel like I've got a really good handle on my my settings and my files and a good clean audio chain. And I don't have those problems anymore.
Right.
And it's those kind of things that I really do feel like make me valuable as a DJ.
But I think it's back to the experience issue.
Yes.
It's knowing going into it. I would say within a sentence of meeting somebody, my goal is to play the right kind of music for you and your group, not so loud that grandma and mom can't talk 10 feet off the dance floor, blah, 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 blah. Keep going. Hey, do you guys have any questions for me? Either, no, you've answered them all, or, we're really worried. We went to a wedding and it was so loud. I'm like, remember when we first sat down, I mentioned, oh, wait, no, that's right. You said it's not going to be too loud. No. I said, I could make it loud, but I would have to bring more gear. Why would I want to work harder to do the job I want to do well and do it worse? And they kind of
headroom is your friend, though.
Oh, I'm like, It's not about me. I'm there to help tell a story through song about you.
Now,
If it was about me, if you said, Jay, it's your wedding, play what you want, I would play Cascade and Deadmau5 all night and people would leave. But it's not my wedding. I have a wedding coming up this weekend. You know what dinner music is? Dirty Bird and House. You know why? Because the bride and groom have a Dirty Bird tattoo. And they disclosed this to me, and I'm going to put together the best playlist of what's dinner appropriate, but housey Dirty Bird, because it's their wedding. And in 20 years, they can tell their kids or somebody, oh, our wedding? We were playing this at our wedding during dinner.
Now, I want to just say that going back to what we were talking about with the volumes and not being too loud. Now, most of the time, I'm allowing for some headroom there. And the reason I'm allowing for the headroom. No, okay, before I even get into this, and I was trying to bank all this stuff while you were talking. Jay typically is doing what? 2.5, 3 hour events.
For dancing or for the whole event? No, my events are all 6 hours.
Okay, your dancing
like
portion.
A dancing portion's like at the most 3 hours. Normally it's between 2.5 and an hour and 45, 2 hours. Yeah.
So let's say average 2 hours. Is that fair?
Yeah, 2.5 actually.
Okay,
because they're
2.5 hours.
7:30.
Over at 10 in a residential area with sound restrictions.
Yes.
Outdoors.
Yep.
I'm usually doing something closer to 5 hours of dancing, just because of the way things work out. Maybe 4.5, maybe 4, but more, significantly more on the average.
Right. Than I am.
And I'm doing them indoors because I'm in Wisconsin and it's cold outside. You know, we're getting ceremonies outside, but usually indoors for the events, because if it's not the heat in the summertime, it's the mosquitoes and the humidity. But anyway, my events typically go longer. Sometimes I'll hold the whole crowd all night. All right. So sometimes if I start with 150 people, I'll end with 150 people. Jay normally starts with 150 or whatever it is, 100 people, and ends with 100 people, because it's not that long. It's not that late. I'm going to midnight. Right. I'm usually going to lose some people. Most of the time, I lose some people, especially. And
I'm not going to be that guy. I don't end every event with the same number I had. Like there are events that end perfect with 25.
It's pretty close, 100.
No, it's very close because it's not that long.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
I've only been on the venue for 7 hours. It's not that long of a day. Your people are showing up at what, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and they're there till midnight. I mean, you're going on a 10-hour day is a long day.
And not only that, but if there's any older folks there who want to attend church on Sunday, I mean, they got to go because church. It's not because they're not having fun.
Right.
You didn't chase them out of the room.
No.
What I was getting at is, and what I was trying to give this long explanation for, just to kind of set the stage, I will turn music up later in the evening.
Yeah.
I will do that. I will make it louder than I normally would, because I've lost that chatty group. And now I've got, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I'm left with that core bride and groom peer crowd.
Right.
And they want to hear Call on Me, and they want to hear whatever. And I will turn it up, and it's fine. But during the family portion of the evening, if we want to call it that, when everyone's there, when grandma and grandpa are there, and your neighbors are there, and your aunts and all that stuff, the older folk are there, it's conversation levels out there. But I've got enough headroom in my system, usually, for most of the events that I do. I've got enough headroom where I can crank it up and make it loud.
Yeah.
I got a few dB I can play with.
Well, and I think that's a lot of it is, it's difficult, and it's still a challenge for me at times, where I'm standing a little behind my speakers. Mm-hmm. Now, with the Evolve 50s, I find it easier.
Yeah.
The other night, I actually used the JBL PRX 615s. I've used them at this venue that I worked the other night, probably, I got them in 2010.
Yeah.
And I've probably done 80 weddings there over that 12-year span, maybe 100 weddings. They've heard the speakers, but for some reason the other night, with the same board I used the last 2 years, at 7:30, dance floor's packed, and they're complaining there's too much bass, the venue. So I had to keep turning down to the point where the bass was turned down to like 7 o'clock. Like I literally was pushing no bass. And I never even went to a yellow light. I stayed in the green all night. The venue had a problem with the sounds for some
Did
reason.
you change your DSP settings?
No, I didn't use the Evolves. I used there's no DSP on the JBLs.
Okay.
But I guess I just forgot how loud they are. Now,
Right.
I will admit I had the JBLs full open.
Oh, well, that'll do it. Yeah.
Normally, I think I maybe ran them at 3 o'clock, not 6 o'clock.
Mm.
But regardless, I didn't argue, but I did kind of get a little like, come on, guys, it's 7:30. We have a 10 o'clock noise variance, and it's early,
Right.
and and they're like, then they disclosed. Well, the owner of the house that's 200 feet away said I was rocking the house, and I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I may have slipped with, well, like the reason that the house is even there is because these people have rented the venue and they want to party, like, but I'll turn it down again. And that was a good example of a wedding where literally the 90-year-old grandparents, the grandfather married them, 90 years old. And
which, by the way, is very cool. It's very cool to do that.
I think it's cooler when it's family.
Trend.
Yeah.
But you got to have,
they, you think is cool. No, they forget everything. They screw on their phone.
Well, it's if you want to do there are no rules. Do you? There's no rule. I tell everybody that there's no rules. And the other thing that I do when there's a wedding ceremony, I'll just get this out real quick, is that I don't tell people how to do things. I try to take what they've planned to do and help them out with a few tips.
Absolutely.
I don't try to run it. I'm not in there being this wedding diva, where I'm like, you got to do it like this, and that's not done like that. Okay, you want to do it like that? Cool.
No.
Maybe like this will be cool. Oh, that's a great idea. So I'm there to be helpful. I'm not the athlete here. I'm the coach, and that's what I tell all my clients.
100%.
So the reason Jay and I are talking about all this stuff, going back to the money thing, is why I feel like anyway, I can command the cash that I can command. Granted, my sound system is quality and it sounds good and it doesn't hurt anybody's ears and it's tuned well, but I'm not using the most expensive stuff known to man. It's not because I have the most expensive equipment or I have the biggest rig. It's because I know what to do with it.
Right.
And I've got the experience that anybody who just, it'd be kind of like if you wanted to be a mechanic. If you went out and just bought all the tools off of the Snap-on truck and had this really cool new shiny toolbox, you say, hey, I'm a mechanic. Oh, you must be the best mechanic. Look at that toolbox.
Yeah.
Look at all those tools.
Yeah.
Well, I've never wrenched on a car in my life, but I just bought this stuff. Well, it doesn't matter. You got the tools. You should be good.
It's knowing how to use those tools.
You got to know how to use the tools.
Yeah, no, it's exactly your point. And it's same with gear. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I've been around a certain manufacturer over the years. So I've gotten to talk to engineers and product planners and learn more, talking to you about audio, talking to Pulse about audio.
Sure.
Learn things and reach out to different companies and really get it together. One of the things you were talking about just a second ago that I really wanted to add in.
Yes, sir.
And you said this, the trend, having their friends do it. One of the things I'm very proud to be able to say, and you could do it too for about $25.
I won't.
You won't.
I won't do it.
You could. And I did this in 2004 in an emergency because I used to be the director of entertainment for a yacht company. And there was problems with some of the days people getting married. The captain would marry them on the boat in the bay. But if we got hit with a big wake, the captain would run up front to grab the wheel. So we decided to say, here's the new arrangement. The captain will marry you on the dock or out in the bay. But if he can't complete the ceremony, the DJ, me, who is ordained, will now run up and finish the ceremony. Are you okay with that? And all the clients said, sure. So when I quit the job, I kept my ordination. And I had an emergency wedding in 2004 where the officiant didn't show up. And I was asked by the bride's ex-Marine, 6'6", 400 pounds of muscle and pissed off dad to marry them. And I did. So I tell every client, who's the officiant? Oh, it's our friend Terry. He's flying in the day before. Okay, well, if it's Terry's first wedding, he just got ordained online. Great. I'll tell you what, I'll go over things with him. I'll help him out any way I can. But just so you understand, I'm getting up that morning. I'm hanging out with my wife and kids. I'm having my kombucha. I'm doing my thing. And then I'm coming directly to you. I'll be there probably about 1:30.
Yeah.
If Terry doesn't show up, just so you know, I'm going to step in if needed, and I'll marry you because I've been ordained for 20 years. And they just go like, oh my God, are you serious? I'm like, it's just a little security thing. I don't want to be your officiant.
but I can. Yeah.
But I can.
Right.
That, again, this is part of the experience. It's part of the, and if you're a new DJ, whatever, I don't care how long you've been a DJ, that's a tool in my toolbox that, believe it or not, very few DJs and other people have. If I was a photographer at weddings, I'd get ordained for $25 and be able to go, hey, if you need it, I can sign the license.
And that's what separates Pastor J from Heathen BSR. J. Yeah. Yes.
And I can change
because I won't do that.
Orange.
I just can't. And
orange.
I can't in any good conscience do that. No, I'm not. And I've made no secret of this. I don't like weddings. I do them because I get paid to do them.
I'm raising
but I
my
don't
prices,
like them.
But I don't like them.
I'd rather not. And in fact, I told my
surprised
client,
you didn't raise your price 300% just so nobody books you.
I was thinking about it. I was thinking about charging like 10 grand for ceremony.
Yeah.
You know,
no one will hire me. That's perfect.
Yeah, no one will hire me. I won't have to do it.
I know DJs that charge $450 for a ceremony.
Sure.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding. They're like, dude, I don't want to do it. So I've just made it so cost prohibitive. Clients get like strings and they rent a PA and all that.
Wait a minute, $450?
For 1 hour.
Right.
In my market, that's astronomically high.
Okay,
again,
my
markets are different.
I told you I'm not going to talk about price. I'm not going to talk about price, but I'm going to say that's not out of hand.
Just for the 1 hour ceremony?
Yep.
Same site.
There's too much on the line.
Oh, there's a ton on the line.
There's too much on the line to not charge that. If you want to pay $250 for a wedding ceremony, yeah, you better call someone else because I ain't doing it. It's not enough. The pressure's on me for all the cues, for all the directing, for all the back end support.
If
it's on me, right? It's going to cost 100%. This.
If we could get together, if all of us could just somehow get together and form an alliance, a union, whatever you want to call it, of wedding professional DJs and come to an understanding of our value and our price. If we agreed that we're worth $500 an hour, just as an arbitrary number, just a number.
Yeah.
I'll do one better. $1,000.
Again, we're arbitrarily picking a number then because everyone's number is going to be different depending on geographical location.
But you'll see the point of the arbitrary number. The arbitrary number becomes the standard, meaning that after 3 phone calls the next morning, a bride and groom will understand that this is what they have to pay. You just have to live up to that. No, it's not utopian. It's not a, thing that's ever going to happen.
It's not price fixing.
Well, it's not. If you all agree that you're delivering these standards. Like if I go to, there's 5 mechanic shops next to each other. They're all charging me $148 an hour to work on my car. And we both understand if the job takes 3 hours, they're charging 3 hours. The game is to get mechanics that can do it in half an hour because then they can do more work.
Yeah. Well,
but that's not price fixing because that's the standard price. We work in an industry where there is no standardization.
Yeah,
the guy that opens for Calvin Harris makes $400.
Now
Calvin Harris makes $400,000.
Yeah,
I'm just saying price.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Get your DJ collective together in Fantasyland and make that happen because that's what it would take. You know that. I mean, it ain't going to happen.
Well, and I've brought that up and I've said, why wouldn't you guys all want to collectively get together and bring everyone up to you so then you could go up more? And there's becomes this sort of, no, I'd rather live in my gated community and hang out with my other gated community guys than deal with the the poor trash down the street. I'm like, okay, nice to know that this is all about the love of the job.
Well, my only crusade on all of this over the years has been at least get your money back for whatever it costs you to do the event. At least get your money back. What you pay yourself is not my business.
No.
But if you're out there DJing and you're losing money every time you go out and perform, there's a problem. There's a little problem there. So at least get your money back for what you're doing.
I hope people listen to that video because I know tons of people that get $500 a gig because they have a full-time job, and their attitude is, if I do 1 gig a week, that's $25,000. I can put that towards this.
Yeah.
And I can't argue with them about how stupid that is, as dumb as I think it is.
Yeah. Well, it's everybody's going to do them, and they're only anything I ever say here or on my channel or anything else. They're only like ideas and suggestions. We're still friends, whatever you do.
Yeah.
But that's advice.
You're not giving the numbers because no one's paying your bills. And that's exactly why I'm not giving my numbers. If you want to pay my bills, I'll be happy to disclose where the money's buried and their bodies and everything else. But until that point, you have to live with your decisions as a business entity and work in your market to the best of your ability. And we will always know great DJs who don't get paid enough. And we will definitely know terrible DJs who get overpaid. And it always works out in the end.
I want to urge everybody watching to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you've made it this far. We appreciate it. It is in my contract that I get to have a cigarette after about an hour.
Yeah.
And it's about an hour. So I'm going to put a fork in this sucker.
Yep, there we go. I'm not going to be here tomorrow night because I'm going to see Ministry, Corrosion of Conformity, and the Melvin.
Tell Uncle Al that I said hi.
I will. Al Jorgensen and I will be talking because I have a backstage pass.
Bop, bop, bop.
Yep.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. From myself and Jay, we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Oh, I have to hit the record button now because he's not here.
And blooper reel.